And welcome to another Mongrel Dog production. And welcome to this mini adventure, a 3-day ride just to test our systems and get back in the swing of things prior to the desert riding season here in Australia. Hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult. Anyway, grab your gear. Let's go. Alright, it's middle of the week, it's Wednesday morning. I'm just on my way to meet another couple of riders, just a few kilometres out of town. And the three of us are just pretty much heading for a shakedown ride. It's autumn here in Australia, and it's just a shakedown ride to make sure our systems are okay for the upcoming, what we call the desert riding season. You don't want to be in outback Australia any time during the year other than late autumn or winter, early spring. It's just too damn hot and dangerous to be out there in summer. So yeah, this is just a shakedown ride, 3 days, 2 nights, just to check our systems. Look at the price of fuel, $2.10 for unleaded. Thank you, Vladimir Putin. Alright, 3 riders, 3 bikes. Chris number 1 on his new BMW GS310. Chris number 2 on his tractor of the desert, Suzuki DR650, and of course me on my BMW 1200. Not really sure where we're going. It's Chris number 1's trip, essentially. He's the bloke who's going to be leading the ride, determining the route. Not quite sure where we're going to stay tonight. A bush camp somewhere. Chris number 1, the bloke in front, the bloke leading this ride, yeah, he's on his new 310. He's just getting back into adventure riding. He had a major off some years ago. We had just departed for a big outback trip, 4 of us. Chris was on his 1200 then. Anyway, he had a major off, got all crossed up in some sand, ended up breaking a number of ribs, puncturing a lung.
Doesn't get bogged. 2, 3, roll, roll, keep going, roll, keep going, till it's flat, keep going, put his head.
And so after that was a bit of a wake-up call. He decided to give it away. That was some years ago. Anyway, he missed the lifestyle, so now he's bought himself, let's call it a more appropriate bike, one that he can pick up if he lays it over, one that is perhaps a little bit more predictable off-road. So yeah, this is pretty much a shakeout tour for him. He's limited by the amount of stuff he can carry. The smaller bike is certainly capable, so yeah, it's just a matter of him being able to carry the gear he needs to go outback for several days at a time. And Chris number 2, the bloke behind me, only recently he had a major off as well. Tore a big hole in his lower leg. It's taken some time to heal. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that as we get older, we lose our edge. We're not as sharp as we used to be, and that's going to happen to everybody. There's going to come a time where you just need to reassess things, maybe change the bike you're riding, or perhaps have a look at the terrain you're going into, and yeah, stuff that is not as hazardous to our health, because we don't bounce as well as we used to anymore. And that'll happen to me. Not there yet, thankfully.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head.
Oh dear. What sort of range have you got? Okay, so now what? Okay, I'm going down the road to get some fuel. Chris has got about 100-kilometre range. I've got more than that. I mean, my tank wasn't full when I started, but because we had to do that diversion to get fuel, I think Chris has had to recheck, do a couple of nav checks, because we're taking different roads and tracks now than he anticipated.
Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Right, pardon me, coming to the end of day one. We're actually we're going to stay at a recognised campground in a national park. There may be some facilities here, long drop dunny, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's pretty hard to find a bush camp around this neck of the woods because there is so much farmland. So yeah, we probably don't have a lot of options. Yeah, I can see there's a dunny, a camp kitchen with some barbecues and stuff, water. So yeah, this will do. We don't need much. A few fire pits around, although I'm not sure if we'll be able to have a fire because of the season. This will do, mate. As I said earlier, this ride is all about, I guess, a shakedown ride for Chris number one. He's been out of the saddle, out of the game for a little while, so yeah, it's primarily, I was going to say, for his benefit, but you get the idea. Let's have a look at the bike, shall we? The BMW GS 310. So yeah, this is Chris's BMW 310GS. 19-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear wheel, single cylinder, water cooled, and you know, he's been able to comfortably sit on 100 kilometres an hour in relative comfort. This bike's actually made in India, believe it or not. But I guess the point is, you don't need a big adventure bike to tour Australia, or any country for that matter. Let's be honest, some people travel the world on postie bikes. I mean, there's a lass in Perth, Roz, she's got her own YouTube channel. She's recently travelled extensively throughout Australia on a Honda CRF 250, I think it was. Spent 18 months, covered about 45,000 kilometres. So, yeah, you don't need a 1200 or a 1 litre engine to go and do some serious adventure riding. And Chris number two, his weapon of choice is the mighty DR650, tractor of the desert. This is a new bike, believe it or not. It doesn't look like it, but the bike itself is only about 18 months old. He had an earlier model, well, an earlier bike, that covered 100,000 kilometres, which is not bad for a single cylinder. But he bought he replaced it and just swapped over all the plastics. That's why it looks like it's been around the block more than once. But this is the one that tore his leg open. The right foot peg there, yeah, it's like shark's teeth there, and as a result of that, of course, he busted up the bike a bit. He had to replace. He's made this. He's pretty talented when it comes to, you know, doing things crafty. So he's been able to buy a piece of perspex, heat it up, and bend that over a piece of dowel. He's done a good job on that. So yeah, the bike looks like it's been around the block more than once, as does Chris, in fact. But it's a relatively new bike. And me, I've got the BMW R1200. I've got a 650 at home as well, but yeah, the 1200 is certainly my weapon of choice. This bike is a 2016 model, done about 100,000 kilometres now. Having said that, I've only taken it out of the shed about 8 times, and those blokes who know me, usually when I take it out of the shed, it's for a decent sort of a ride. I've lost count about how many times I've crossed this continent. But yeah, there's nothing special about it. There's no farkles, no fruit, well, other than pivot pegs. But other than that, it's pretty well standard. And a fluffy seat cover.
We haven't seen the old rat thing.
Alright, morning of day 2. We've got to return to Williams for fuel, and although I've eaten, these guys are going to get breakfast there as well. I'll have a cup of coffee and then back to following the bloke in front, I guess. Shouldn't be a difficult day, I don't think. I think at one stage we end up at a place called Wellington Dam, so that might be a good lunch point, lunch stop. We'll wait and see. Right, by coincidence we find ourselves in Williams. Again, we were here earlier this morning. We've stopped for a break. We've actually decided to return to the campsite that we were at last night. We know the facility's there, it's close by, it's getting late in the afternoon now, so yeah, we'll go back to where we were last night and stay there. Right, we're just pulling up to the national park again for the second time on this trip. Alright, beginning of the third and final day. We're a couple of 100 kilometres from Perth, from home. We're not taking the direct route there, we'll mix it up a little. Bit of native animal activity last night. You could hear them, in some cases see them, just foraging for food and the like. Chris number 2 had his 2-minute noodles raided because he left them outside of his tent. So they were sacrificed, and I heard some movement under my tarp. I think it might have been a mouse or something like that. So yeah, anyway, as I said, we'll be back in Perth today. You wouldn't expect too much to go wrong. It's been pretty seamless so far, but having said that, you never know. Alright, the three of us have gone our separate ways. I'll be home in a few minutes. Both Chris number 2 and I have got our work cut out for us over the next few weeks. We're departing on a fairly major outback trip, and Chris has got a bit of work to do on his bike. He's got to swap out the front and rear tyre, he's got to replace his chain and sprockets, and some other minor work. I've got to swap my tyres out as well, replace both front and rear discs, and I've also I've got to fix my tank bag, the zipper's given up on that, and replace the front tyre air pressure monitor. So yeah, between the two of us we've got a little bit of work ahead of us. Yeah, as I said earlier, I'll be home in a few minutes, and so if this is the final approach, you know what that means. See you on the other side.